Okay, so I'm gonna go over an inheritance example with you, but actually do some code to help it make a little bit more concrete for you. So in this example, we're gonna have a parent class of food, and then we're gonna have two subclasses called tuna and pot pie. And again, these subclasses are gonna take all the methods and variables that we put in food. Okay, and then there's a fourth class that's a runner class that I'm going to use to construct food, tuna, and pot pie objects. Okay, so this is one where you don't have to do the code along with me necessarily. I think it's maybe easier just to watch and kind of have it make some sense that way. So setting it up, my runner class has actual main, and then everything else is pretty much blank. Pot pie, tuna, and food are all blank. Okay, so what might make sense here is like you think of what all of these things have in common, right? So all of them might have a method called eat. All right, so I'm going to make a public void method where we eat, right? And I'm going to put it in food because it would sort of make sense that all of these foods have a method where you eat them. All right, so I'm going to go create that in food quick. So I'm going to do, and I'm not going to worry about constructors or anything right now. So I'm going to do public void eat. Maybe, yeah, public void eat. I think should be okay. All right, and then I'm just going to sys out print yum, yum, you ate some food. Okay. And so right now it's in just my food object. Okay, so this method right now exists just in here. And if I want tuna and pot pie to have all the access to stuff in food, there's a special word that I've got to use called extends. Okay, so to make these things be subclasses of the superclass food, we're just going to type extends food in their class declaration. Okay, so that'll make both tuna and pot pie be foods. So when I go into tuna, I'm going to go public class tuna extends food. Okay, and I'm going to do pot pie, same thing, extends food. Okay, and none of the code actually shows up here, right? But it's sort of implied. And so what I mean by that is if I go make an object now, so I'm going to make a pot pie object. Pot pie I like quite a bit better than tuna. So I'm going to do pot pie pp equals new pot pie. Okay, so if I make a pot pie object, all right, so you would think if I look at pot pie, there's like no code in pot pie, right? So it seems like there's not much I can do with it, but because it extends, I can do pot pie dot eat, okay? And so what'll happen is, hey, there's no eat method in pot pie, but it'll run the one that's up here in food, right? Because all of that stuff extends down into these two classes. Okay, so both of these pot pie and tuna have an eat method. Okay, so let's go back in here to my runner and I'm going to create it and then I'm going to run it. So it should run this eat method right there from food. Okay, and so same thing with a tuna. So if I make a tuna, maybe I'll put these together. Maybe tuna equals new tuna. Okay, and then I'm going to do tuna dot eat. Okay, and it says the same thing as before. Okay, so I want to show you one other kind of trick to this. So I'm going to make another method called say hello to explain this. Public void say hello. All right, and then I'm going to make it in food again, and both of these will have access to it. Public void say hello. So I'm going to say hello. Why are you talking to a food? Do you need some friends? Maybe they don't have many friends. If they're talking to their food, then they got some issues. Okay, so now that I've made this method in food, right, I can call it back here. I can call poppie.sayhello. Okay, and also tuna will have that method, and it'll both do the same thing. Okay, hello, are you talking to a food? Do you need some friends? Okay, so right now they both have this say hello method, but one of the cool things about inheritance, right, with these super and subclasses is you can change the functionality. So maybe pot pie, because it is better than tuna, maybe I want to do something different when I say hello. So what I can do is do a public void say hello method. Whoops, say hello, and that will overwrite what this one does. Okay, so even though it's named the same thing, it can say, I don't want to exactly do the same thing as I did in food, so I'm going to override it. Tuna is the way I've set it up now. We'll still use the say hello method up here, but pot pie can have its own. Okay, so I'm going to go into pot pie, which still has 0 code, by the way, right? It's just using the superclass code, but I'm going to overwrite it. So I'm going to overwrite the say hello method. Okay, so I'm going to do public void say hello, and it has to be the same name, same signature as before. And I'm going to sys out print I am better than that loser tuna. This pot pie, let's be honest. I mean, most people I think would take pot pie over tuna. Okay, so now when I go back here and when I call pot pie.say hello, it's going to run say hello from pot pie, right? And if it didn't have it, then it would go up and run the superclass one. But because we overrode it, it's going to say that. Okay, so now when I run this, maybe I'll get rid of these eat methods to make it a little bit clearer in my output. So when pot pie says hello, that'll be different than when tuna says hello. So pot pie taunts tuna, and then tuna still has the basic default. All right, so maybe the final thing I want to put in this video is just, you can do this with variables too. So like if I think it has to be public, but if I do public int calories, that represents how many calories the food has, right? If I put it up in food, okay, so I'm going to go into food and do an instance variable, which we normally make private, but I'm going to do an instance variable that's public. Int calories. All right. And so then what'll happen is if I go into my runner class and I take one of my objects, like if I do pot pie.calories, I have access to it. Okay, it doesn't really have a value at this point. Maybe we could do that in the constructor. So if I sys out pot pie.calories, I think this might be an error because it's never set to a value. I don't know. Let's run this once and see. We'll kind of find out. Oh, no, it actually defaults to 0. That surprises me. I'm not going to lie. But it sets it to 0. So by default, well, we could do that in our pot pie. If we actually did a constructor here, public pot pie, I'm going to name it exactly the same as the class. I'm not going to take in anything. But all I'm going to do, and I think I can just type calories equals, pot pie is probably a lot of calories, right? And again, why this gets a little tricky is like you look like, where the heck is this calories variable? I don't even see it at all in pot pie. How on else can I even set it? So one thing that sometimes is helpful is you can type like this word super dot and see what's up there. So super will just like say that this variable is up in calories, and you don't have to include that. Sorry, the calories variable is up in the parent class. You don't have to do that, but it might be good practice just so we know that where that variable is. Okay, so now I think if I create a pot pie object, the constructor will set the calories to 400, right? So then when I print out pot pie's calories, it should be 400 there. Okay, and that's a little unconventional because normally we don't have a public instance variable there, but it just shows you that any data you make up here, if it's public, the subclasses also have it, right? And I think if we change it to private, that's no longer true. I can try that, but I think, yeah, then PotPie is going to complain that it doesn't have access to it, something like that, not visible. And that would actually probably be the way to do it. You'd make this private, and then you could make public get and set methods for calories, and then those public methods could be accessed in like PotPie and Runner and stuff like that. So anyways, hopefully that's an example, makes sense. And the idea is any common variables or methods, you can put them up here in the parent class, and then all the food subclasses automatically have that features and functionality, but it can also overwrite them if they want, right? They can change it if they want to do something slightly different. All right, that is all. Thank you for watching.